This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy, that's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouthwatering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Back with another episode of The Shades of Blue. This is Thad Bell. With me is Robert Russert and Carrie. Carrie.
Robinson.
Yes. I was going to say C. Robbie because that's what your name shows up as, but I was like, dang it. We are The Shades of Blue. We are the KC Soccer Journal. I don't sound like Cody because he's under the weather, really tired, wimpy, whiny, whatever. He's not here. But we still wanted to go ahead and get a pod in this weekend because there's at least a little bit of information came out on Saturday. There was a big presser. Peter Vermees, Mike Burns, a little talk about the free agent offers they have out there and a lot of other stuff. One of the things they quickly announced was that Mason Toy, is that the right way to say it?
It is.
He has been signed. They finished the medical like right before they came into the presser. And they will officially send the announcement out on Monday, I think. But what do you think, Carrie? Do you know anything about Mason?
Let's do a quick rundown. In 2018, 7th overall in the last draft. He's expected to do a lot better than what he has. However, it does seem like some pressure kind of got to him. So I think it's probably going to be interesting to see what he does with Sporting. There's not a lot of pressure, obviously. So should be a good environment for him.
How about you, Robert? You think he's just straight up back up to Mr. William Agata on first reference?
Well, he's had a few good seasons. I think 7 goals is his highest output. So that's right along kind of, where Allen was in some ways, except for his really strong season. The way that Mike Burns, Mr. Burns, and Peter talked, it sounded like Toy was kind of signed probably as a depth piece. Sounded like what Peter said, and I won't use exact words, but he said that there are people on the roster who have the ability to be the guy. And I think that's a pretty clear reference to Willie.
Yeah.
And, he kind of just said it's kind of our responsibility to make sure that he has everything he needs, or those players have everything they need to be, what they can be. So I wouldn't be surprised if a 9 is signed because Mr. Burns did allude to that. But I think at this moment, the winger and the 10 seem to be the higher priority.
With the Pulido transfer back to Chivas, it became now a pressing need to sign a 9, and that's kind of what they said. They were previously looking for a winger and a 10, but now they have that opening to go for a 9. And he did say they had offers out to multiple players for multiple positions, so I will assume one of those is a 9.
They also said that this accelerates their plan that they've had, but they also mentioned that the 3 windows apparently starts now, which is something that we've been told for at least 2 windows. So it's on record that we're starting now, the rebuild.
Yeah, that has kind of been a sticking point with a lot of people. I know that the window start when he says things, but I do feel like this one was more like, the rebuild is going to take over 3 windows, but it was a little bit different. I feel like it was a little bit different than the previous ones where it was we're going to try to do this over 3 windows. That it's just going to take 3 windows. That they've got offers, they got money, they got cap space, they got roster room. They can really do things now.
Yeah, and that's how they started the presser. Is like, we've really got flexibility is a word that was repeated often. So pretty excited about that. They seemed, and they did reiterate that it's a 3 window Mr. Burns did not want to call it a rebuild, a three-window project, let's say.
Yeah. It was kind of funny because Burns didn't want to call it a rebuild, but right next to him is Peter going, "It's a rebuild." But because that was the last presser they had, I kind of pointed it out. Like, you've never called it a rebuild before, Peter, because he's always like refresh or some euphemism for bringing in new players. But he goes, "Yeah, this is a rebuild." He was very open about it. The previous presser to this one.
So I'm some other things that were said that I don't know what your plan is out here, but you're a little looser than Mr. Cody. So
I've been told so.
yeah, it was interesting comment I thought in a way that they said, we realize that these signings will impact the club for the next couple of years, which I don't know. Thad, did you take that as an allusion to maybe it's something they didn't realize so much in the past, or they are learning from some contracts in the past?
Maybe a little bit, but I think that it's just a thoughtful process at this point.
Yeah,
I will say Peter's always tried to be in that vein of we don't want to sign somebody who's not good for the team, right? He's
for
always
sure.
been in that vein. I just took it again that this was a mindful, a thoughtful, whatever like term you want to use is this is we're going to do this. We're going to try to make sure we have the right guy. We're not going to spend money on a guy that we don't think will be good. Obviously, you can still have injuries. Shit happens. But they want to have guys that have come in and will be here for 2, 3, 4 years.
I think it's important to also note that Mason Toy currently is not injured, which is big improvement for incoming Sporting KC signings.
Well, didn't he finish the season injured last year though?
That we are aware of. He's not injured.
Yeah, yes.
He did pass a medical, so I hope that means he's okay to play.
We'll see in when is the first preseason game next week?
Yeah,
Guess we'll
it's
see
soon.
then.
Yeah, there will also be some availabilities before then, I'm pretty sure, because since they would not present him to the media, sacrificial lamb, you just passed your medical, go out there and talk to a bunch of idiots. No.
Right.
Um, so we'll probably get to talk to him sometime this coming week. Going back to the Pulido thing, though, I kind of asked about how that came about. Trying to get it like I tried to ask in a way that was open enough that he would answer. I didn't want to say, "Tell me this," and he'd only give me a yes or no answer, right? So he opened up a little bit about it that it was Pulido has a new agent, and that kind of facilitated this happening now. And it happened over a relatively short term. So like one of our previous pressers, it wasn't even on the radar at that point, and now like 7 weeks later, it's done. So that was kind of interesting, and there was also that they would not pay to take him away, so they weren't going to pay anybody to take out the trash. Um, Sorry,
Ouch.
that was a little bit mean. That was a little mean. I know. I apologize. He's been a great player in the past. That was not nice. But they were not going to pay to take him away, so they're not paying his salary. And Chivas had to pay Sporting to get him. So
Yeah, a couple of things related to that. I'm not sure if it's Burns or Vermees that said it, but it's a really accelerated their plan as far as what they can do now. And that was kind of how Peter summed it up. In the end, the Pulido thing was a business decision at the end of the day. It was a good business for the club to do what they need to do right now. And like Thad said, they didn't have to spend any money. They got money. So
overall, I think it's a pretty good deal there. What do you think, Carrie?
Yeah, I mean, if this gives us enough space to work with something, I mean, this is two players. This is the biggest signing that we've had. It's only getting up from here. That's what you gotta think.
Yeah.
Like we signed him, and then all these other clubs started having even bigger signings. So we're at a newer point in MLS that we even were 4 years ago, 5 years ago when we signed him. So there's a lot to come and a lot of opportunities. And I hate to be cautiously optimistic about the season, but I'm getting to that point where I'm excited for soccer.
I know I'm a little bit optimistic at this point. Burns did a good job too of coming out and like laying out a lot of info right off the bat. I will say because he, a bunch of the questions are going to be asked, but one of the questions was obviously going to be, are you going to go to the 3DP and 3U22 or the 2DP and 4U22 model? He said that they're still open. I still kind of feel like they're going to go 2DP and 4U22, but that's not any inside info. That's just kind of a gut feeling. But we will have to see how they present that. But if they still have, I should say, they now have a lot of flexibility.
Exactly. And they said, I think you alluded to this a bit earlier, they've extended offers. Um, have not extended offers, I'm sorry, yet. But
No, they have extended offers. They have offers out.
yeah. Okay. Sorry, my notes got me confused. But Burns said they have a wider net now. And it's something it's kind of exciting. Making a fishing analogy, you've got a lot more fish that you can look at now, if you will, because you couldn't before the Pulido move.
Yeah, they have options to put more money in one player than just two spots. Maybe they more money into two spots versus something else. They have those options. It's really interesting to see what they're going to do this window and next window. Now, I do feel like we're not going to have a lot of players in the next couple weeks. I could be wrong. Hopefully, I'm wrong. Hopefully, some guy signs that has their visas ready to go and they'll show up in 2 weeks. But I'm not putting a lot of faith in that yet.
So another comment that I thought was interesting, that Peter talked about how, the goals against have to go down. And I don't know about your first thought there. My first thought was, okay, are there the people on the roster that can do that right now? Because I looked at the last 5 games of last year, that counts the Open Cup final. We were outscored 13-3 in the last 5 games. So I'm hoping the guys are on the roster that can help that goals against go down, but that will remain to be seen.
Shouldn't that be 12-4 with the own goal? They scored an own goal.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, my fault.
That's the kind of joke I always make, Carrie. So I appreciate that really a lot. Yeah, we outscored them 3-1, but we lost 2-. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see on that. We really didn't see Joaquin enough to know what he can do, other than he does have a powerful header from close range. But other than that, we don't know how good he can actually be. Plus, being healthy coming into a training camp, that can all help, right? So we'll have to see if the defenders are there. We know that they could use some more defenders, though.
Some better ones, perhaps. So, I'm a little disappointed, guys. You haven't commented on my background yet.
Well, nobody listening to this will be able to see it unless we want to take a screenshot of it.
There was talk last pod about how, yeah, I was working on that, but it's work in progress. Maybe one day we will actually do what Cody says we're going to do and, actually have a video pod. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I'll probably have to start fading out at that point because nobody wants to see me on a pod.
Come on.
I changed my sad Christmas tree to a pineapple. That was commented on last week.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's a very nice pineapple. Does it light up or is it just paper?
It does.
Ooh.
Ah,
Okay, Cody's really pissed right now.
It's supposed to be good luck for a new apartment or a house. So
I know. That's why they put them outside doorways, right? We have like a stone one outside our front door. I don't know why, but that's there. So, all right. We've kind of said that it gives us a little optimism for the upcoming season. If nothing else, if not optimism, excitement, because we don't know what's coming. It could be a terrible losing season, and there's a good chance that it won't be a great season just because there's a lot of new players. They don't have players yet, but it'll be a fun thing because we know they're going to be bringing in probably 4 or 5, 6, 7 players over the next 2 windows, I would say.
Yeah, this team's going to look different, which is exciting because it's gotten bland, I think, over the last couple of seasons. And it's going to be a lot of curiosity for sure about what exactly form it's going to take.
Imagine what's possible when learning doesn't get in the way of life. At Capella University, our game-changing FlexPath learning format lets you set your own deadlines so you can learn at a time and pace that works for you. It's an education you can tailor to your schedule. That means you don't have to put your life on hold to pursue your professional goals. Instead, enjoy learning your way and earn your degree without missing a beat. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
This episode is brought to you by Love Hurts. Kiwi Kwan has had quite a career, from childhood roles in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and The Goonies to a recent Academy Award win for Everything Everywhere All at Once. But now Ki finally stars as a leading man in the film Love Hurts. Love Hurts is the perfect date night movie with its mix of over-the-top action, comedy, and a ton of heart. Love Hurts, only at theaters February 7th.
I think if we go back to the press conference and new players coming in, I do think that it is interesting to see how Mr. Burns talks about the homegrowns that were just signed. I mean, Peter in the back has always talked about how he's excited to see what these players do, but then never plays them. The way that Mr. Burns kind of went about it is that he's only obviously picking the players that he thinks can contribute to, and he used the word contribute multiple times in like a sentence.
Yeah.
So that gives me hope that we will see. We only have just 3 right now. All the other ones have been off, like they've been.
Well, there's
released,
three
right?
three new homegrown players this season. The two 16-year-olds, Ian James and Jack Courtcamp, and then this Jacob Bartlett, who was just signed last week. But you have Jake Davis, who's a homegrown, and Daniel Shallowy, the Hungarian homegrown, is also one. Also,
Yes.
Pulskamp is technically one, even though they traded for his rights, so he's a homegrown, but not.
Yes. Well, I mean, obviously Pulskamp and Jake Davis play. So, but all the other ones were released after this last year. So it just kind of gives like a new, like we only have 3 new ones. So it's kind of
Right.
excited to see where they could go. It was mentioned that they're not going to be star of the shows this year, but later on, that's what the goal is.
Yeah, that's always the goal, but I have a lot of hopes for all 3 of them, quite honestly. Ian James, he's probably not going to see a lot of time on the field because he's 16 and he'll probably be playing a lot for SKC2. Court Camp, the same, because he's a goalie. You're not going to start a 16-year-old goalie unless you're desperate. So he'll probably see a lot of time with SKC2. But Bartlett, I kind of think that we might see some minutes from him. Not ton, but we'll see how he handles MLS games.
Well,
It's
first
fun
of all,
knowing.
when Bartlett came in, the pictures I'd seen of him, he looked a little, thin, but he's been beefing up a little bit. And then, the words that they talked about for Bartlett, Peter was like very impressed with his maturity, very coachable, learns very quickly, and great competitives at that. And those are all great traits for defensive mid, which is the position that, is probably where he's going to be. He could play central defender, Peter said, in a pinch if needed, but some impressive words for Mr. Bartlett.
It's fun knowing that Bartlett's brother played on the inaugural season of St. Louis City. So there's a good rivalry there. That's gonna
Yeah.
be fun to watch. Hopefully he
Uh,
brings more spark than half the team did last year.
and one of the really cool things about Bartlett is that his family have been season ticket holders for a long time. He's been there as a little kid fan. He's been there as an 8-year-old, 9-year-old, or whatever, as a fan. He's the first one to come through the Center of Excellence. I know they always got to find like, oh, you're the first one to have done X, but he came in through before the official academy level under 12s. So he's done all of that. One of the questions I didn't really get to ask, and I'll probably do it at a later point, is why now versus a year ago, maybe? If you saw this potential in him, but maybe he took the steps at Notre Dame because he played a season at Notre Dame. Maybe he took those steps now to show, and he played some for, SKC2 over the summer. So yeah, he looks like he could be a good signing.
So one thing that was focused on as well, they talked about they've improved some processes. They really looked at a lot of things, the way they do things, reflected, and they've improved some of those processes and the work environment. There was a phrase that was thrown out. And they also said we may be doing some things more old school way now, and maybe similar to what they used to do years ago, and they're bringing some of it back. So we probably won't see much of that end, but it's good to hear that they're reflecting and going to make things better for the players.
One of the questions a lot of people had was Zoran Savic leaving. Was it Was he fired? Was it whatever? Peter very much made it sound like it was Z wanted to hang it up, and he didn't quite say it, but I think he kind of did. He said he's old and wants to take it easy. I'm like, I can understand
More or
that.
less.
Z's been around Kansas City for a long time with indoor soccer before, and he's been a color commentator before Peter pulled him out there to help coach. Uh, he's been around with Peter since Peter took over as a coach, so he's been around for a long time. So yeah, take it easy. So it was good to hear that that's why he left, not like he was fired. I know some people like want all the coaches to be fired, but still people are people.
Well, one aspect of that, some people, out there, the cynics might be surprised to hear Peter say, or they may not be surprised, but they don't believe it. But he said that he doesn't like assistant coaches that are yes men. So again, some people may look at that and say, yeah, whatever, Peter. But they've been the number of applications they said is daunting that they've gotten since they posted the position. So we'll see what happens.
They also was mentioned that because they've added a scout for domestically, so a scout within the United States for. They didn't say this, but I'm pretty sure it'll be looking for youth players they can bring into the academy or to the two team, probably primarily because I'm sure they'll look at USL players that they could bring into the first team also, things like that. But they've talked about this whole thing as being new investment, new people doing analytics and all this other type of stuff. Some of those hires have been made. A lot of them have not been made yet because they're so busy hiring and doing a lot of things. But they're continuing to build out that staff.
Yeah, other parts of the staff that were mentioned as well. Final stages of an SKC2 head coach. They said they might be able to announce something next week, perhaps. So that'll be interesting. Any insight on who that might be, Thad, on your end?
No, quite honestly, I was doing a lot of trying to talk, just find like, the casual conversations, trying to find out little bits of information here and there, but that was one I didn't actually work too hard on, sadly.
Yeah, and then the other one is they are interviewing assistant sporting directors. So hopefully an announcement coming there soon too.
If that's the one, I think it will be a person that's focused a lot on the SKC2 team, players that they can bring in there. Also the help for the first team, but like
Yeah.
focused on getting guys at the two team who can progress up. Uh, and I've also kind of heard that the two team they're going to go very young, like a lot of academy kids returning and things like that, trying to bring them in and build from there. So we'll have to see how that pans out. Seems like every couple years the two team kind of changes modes, but
Do we get the sense that they're trying to connect more of a bridge between the first and the second team? Because we haven't seen that in the past, whereas other MLS teams have.
I do think they're trying to do it better. Yes. I mean, there's been some of it in the past. Guys come through there to get to the first team. Jake Davis, uh, a few other guys, but it's been you want to build that strengthen that pathway. And I think with some of the players they have down, or some of the coaches they have with the academy team, that's going to help. It just takes time.
Sure.
Uh, so I just want to say, like I kind of feel like it was a positive vibe coming out of that presser.
Sure.
Still a long way to go. So I mean, they still have a lot of time to make us go, damn it, why didn't you sign somebody? But
Well, you're
positive.
not positive now, Thad. I mean, that's not a good sign, right?
Have you read a lot of, Reddit, Twitter, other things? There's a lot of
Screw
people that
those
are not very
people.
positive.
Facebook.
But one interesting thing that Peter said, and it's really not surprising if you look at the addition of Vargas, and gosh, his name escapes me right now for some odd reason. 'Cause I'm getting
Afrifa,
old. Afrifa, thank you very much. Those two additions with the speed that they have and the ability to go forward quickly, that's one thing that Peter said that, possession, our goal is to create opportunities with possession, but if we have the opportunity to go quickly to goal, I want us to do that. So they might be looking at the 10 and the winger that they're signing to fit that mold.
yeah, and again, it's going to be really interesting which players they fill those roles first, because I think that will change maybe how you see Tommy used, for example,
Mhm.
because he's been a midfielder, the de facto 10 because nobody else really was the 10. But I actually I like him as a winger when everybody is working correctly. Sometimes as a winger he wants to come inside too much,
Mhm.
but that's also because he feels like I think that was because he felt like he had to do more. So if you get the guys in the mid, he will still cut in, don't get me wrong, but I think it'll give him I think it'll help alleviate that problem a little bit. All right. Anything else we need to cover? I mean, I was trying to make this quick because we're on the free Zoom version of this pod for today.
Well, as far as the presser goes, that I just Peter reiterated a number of times that intensity, high level of, work rate can really make a difference out there, and that's really going to be something different I think we're going to see this year.
Yep. And then, yeah, he mentioned that a lot last year, but he at the end of last year he mentioned that it will be different next year. So they're
Mhm.
going to have to be a little more hardcore, a little more
Yeah,
intense.
we'll see.
I
We'll
think
see.
I think the guys who he didn't feel like it are gone. Um, again, going back because there was a lot of it was like a 42-minute presser, so it was a pretty long presser there. So a lot of information out there from it. Uh, One of the things he had also said was they had a lot of guys out of contract coming into the season because they knew they had to make a lot of change. So basically, they had planned to make these changes at least to a certain extent. That's why there was so many guys out of contract, and you could also say some of the things they did in the way the contracts were, some of the things they did with the expansion draft protected list was based upon whose contracts they were forced to do. So I think you could read into some of that that there were contracts that they just can't kill, but if those players were gone, they would be okay with that.
It's hard to think about talking about intensity and thinking that Johnny Russell wasn't a huge part of that, and the stronger, intense guys. So it's weird. Do you feel at all, Thad, Carrie, as well, that some of the comments that Johnny made to the press were maybe an issue or not?
I don't really think that played into it, and I don't even think that he wasn't intense.
Yeah,
I think
right.
he was just old.
I think a lot of those answers might be those questions might be answered with the MLS behind the scenes
Yeah,
where
maybe.
they seem to be showing a lot of Johnny Russell contract um, talking. So he's
Yeah.
coming back to MLS, so it'll be interesting to see where he's at.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would. It would be really weird to see him somewhere else in MLS though.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. He said
Um,
that he was, I don't know if I mentioned this on the last a few podcasts ago. I did find that podcast that he was doing. It was like 2 hours long. Anyways, I ended up listening to it. He said that he was like just listening or trying to get back to like two other clubs and then he's gonna make a decision. So
Okay.
yeah, I
So
would.
for the East.
So just a bit of a primer. I did get some individual time with Jake Davis, and I had a good conversation with him while we were waiting for Eric Tommy. So look for that coming out hopefully this week. Some interesting little tidbits and things from Jake.
He's the guy who I've really loved watching him like grow up and mature and you still never really know how much playing time he's going to get. Depends on the players they bring in and things like that. But he's a he's a great club guy at this point.
Oh
Do
yeah.
you think do you think it could be Captain Jake this season?
Well, that was a big issue at a lot of questions were asked regarding the captaincy, and the word cojones came out from Peter. So as long as he has the cojones to be able to get in the teammate's face, and I did ask Jake about that, so we'll see what he said. It's a possibility.
I think it's possible. I will just say I doubt it a little bit just because of
Yeah, me
age.
too. Yeah,
He's 23, and not that he's not a good player. It's just usually you're going with a little
He's
bit
young.
older. Yeah.
Yeah.
and does he
And
need that additional pressure? I don't think so at this point.
yeah, because I think that's a big part of it too, is like you have a lot of different types of captains, very vocal and things like that, but I would just have a hard time seeing him game after game after game being the guy who's like getting in their face. You got to go out there and,
if
you
need
know,
be.
kick the ever loving shit out of Salt Lake or whatever terms he would use. But I'm not saying he can't do it or won't grow into that, but and maybe that's not the type of leader. I don't think Beasler was exactly that kind of guy either.
Yeah,
Uh, but I think he might be, if he's around for 4 more years, I think he's a captain. I could be wrong.
right. Agreed.
Who else do you think was currently on the roster? Tommy?
He's got to be the front runner at this point. He's captain before.
Yeah.
Everyone else as captain is pretty much gone.
Yeah. I
Shall
mean,
we? If he can get back in the spot in the squad.
yeah. I mean, there's been several people who've wore it for like a 1 game off because I mean, Jake got to wear it for 1 game, right?
Yes, yes. It was a
Um,
big deal for everyone.
yeah. Uh, Again, I have a lot of faith in Jake being really good at some point. I mean, being in the place where he can do that, but yeah, I think Tommy has to be it maybe.
Well, Peter left the door open. He said somebody can come in day one and have those cojones
Yeah.
and be that guy. So you never know.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
was
this is a pretty young team right now, so
Very.
everything's dropped significantly.
I know I'm waiting for somebody. I haven't seen anybody calculate the age of this team, but dropping Johnny and Fontas and Melia, bringing in 2 16-year-olds, a 19-year-old, and the aged veteran they just brought in is 26. You
Right.
know, for Mason Toy. Uh, even the guys they're getting as the old guys now are only in their mid 20s, so
So
much younger
they're
team.
speaking of these cynics that you mentioned before on social media, Thad, what are your guys' thoughts? You see San Jose bringing Chicho Arango from Real Salt Lake, and you see us bringing Mason Toy. Is that an issue for you at all? Does that bother you at all? Or is just like, eh,
For me personally, it doesn't bother me right now
yeah,
because Mason is not coming in to be the answer, right? I mean, he's
yeah,
coming in to be depth. He's coming in to Willie picks up a knock, he can start. He can come off the bench to. I don't even remember how fast he is, quite honestly. I was thinking he was quick, but I don't remember for sure. He's got a little bit of height, but I don't remember him being like
6'3".
powerful in the air. But he's scored some goals. He knows MLS, so it's not anything new to him. And I think that's just a veteran thing to have that depth, right? So there's no comparison between those two moves to me.
Yeah,
Uh, you there's a lot of question whether or not they should have went after some guy in MLS more so, but it's what do you have to give up to get them? You may already know all of their problems, their locker room issues. You may already know all that. Just getting fresh faces in. I'm not saying they shouldn't go after some of these guys. I just can see why those are not the same right now.
yeah.
How about you, Carrie? What do you think on that?
I mean, we just got money to get more people. Give it a second, find the
Yeah,
right person, you
yeah.
know. Also, so our oldest person on the team right now is 31, just to throw it out there. This Kyrie Shelton, but there are two others are also 31. Just to put that into perspective.
And those two would be
Tim Leibold and Danny Rosero.
okay.
Interesting. A lot of guys probably in their mid to early 20s, though, too, I think.
Mhm.
And then the teenagers. I would,
So,
I would.
Thad, did you want to move on to your Friday evening adventures?
What was my Friday evening adventures?
Comments match.
Oh, yeah, man. I Right now I'm having a hard time keeping track of days. Yeah, Comets had a nice decisive win over Empire Strikers. There was supposedly Alan Pulido was there, although I kind of doubt it. But
How's that, Thad?
well, he was on the guest list for Marco Fabian because they knew each other from playing for Mexico.
Oh, okay.
Marco
Interesting.
Fabian plays for Empire Strikers. I think last time they came here, he also was on the guest list and was there. And I did look around to see if I saw him anywhere because you can see into the suites. There was one guy in a corner of his suite back there that could have potentially been him. But I'm like, you just signed with Chivas. Why are you not down there? But maybe he came back to, pick up extra underwear from his apartment or his house. I don't know.
And miss the first Chivas game. Why not?
Yeah. I'm like, well, that is kind of a precedent for him. Back to being mean again. Sorry. Because I was one of the biggest defenders of Pulido. I mean, he was hurt. He played hard. He, yeah.
Well, Thad, you asked a pretty daring question going back to the presser. You asked, do you see signing Pulido now or as a mistake? I'm not sure he worded it exactly, but yeah, Peter's response to that was interesting.
Yeah. And what I was trying to get at was the last signing, the re-signing of him.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if I phrased it poorly, which is very possible, or Peter misunderstood it, or Peter answered the question he wanted to answer.
Right. Yeah.
Which I think that's very possible too. So, you can't go back and look at the first signing of him that as a mistake. Yes, hindsight, yes, but at the time, no. So I was trying to get more at the re-signing of him, but
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah. And were you a little disappointed that there were only I don't know, counting sporting staff, 20 people there?
And well, 3 of the people in media was from our site, you, me, and
Exactly.
Chad.
Yeah.
Sperry was in Florida on vacation.
Right. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are officially running out of time. So, as Cody usually gives me, do I have anything prophetic? I'm going to ask Carrie this. Do you have anything prophetic?
Oh crap.
Exactly. I know how that feels.
In this time of the new year, we should be optimistic about where this all goes, whether or not it goes anywhere. That's all I got. I'm so sorry. That was so bad. Nothing compared to Thad's.
Not compared, not as bad as Thad's. That's what you said. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. No. Thanks everybody for listening. Rate, review, subscribe, ring bells, whatever you got to do. Comment. I appreciate it. I love running into people that say they listen to the pod. So I appreciate everybody who listens, and we are out.
Sipping back an empty can. I don't give a damn if it's 9 a.m. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer or whiskey, wine or gin, anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking. Just been sent off. Supporters strong have all gone soft. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer or whiskey, wine or gin, anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking.